evening, everyone. I'm Rohit Dev, your evening host and a management trainee at Adore. So, before we dive into in our today's program, let me give a quick glimpse into Adore. Adore is a global network of students and young professionals like us, all passionate about inspiring youth to make positive impact. We connect you with established professionals and offer a platform to learn from their journeys. Now, on behalf of Team Maverick and Adore, we are thrilled to welcome you to this webinar on the topic the role of social media in promoting social justice and empowerment. To make this session even more engaging, I request everyone to kindly switch on their cameras. Everyone, please switch on your cameras. Okay. And now, the moment we all have been waiting for. Our esteemed guest speaker for tonight is Ms. Liana Fahmida Rahman. Ms. Liana Fahmida Rahman is a social science student and research enthusiast, content writer, and developer and advocate for social positive changes in Dhaka, Bangladesh. Ms. Liana, it's a true honor to have you with us today. We all are eager to gain valuable insights from your expertise. Ms. Liana, the floor is yours. You may continue.
Thank you so much for having me today. My presentation today is on the topic of the role of social media in promoting social justice. So I have created a presentation on that and how social media, along with social justice, leads to empowerment. Let me share the slide. Please let me know if you can see the slide.
Yes, ma'am, the slide is visible. You're visible, ma'am. The
Okay,
screen is
let me
visible.
just begin it from the top. Can everyone see the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Now I am unable to see the slide. Let me start.
Yes.
Can everyone see the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So today I'll start. So today I will be talking about the role of social media in promoting social justice and how it creates empowerment in our society. Uh, to begin or to say about this topic first, social media is a platform that helps us communicate, share information, and advocate for social change and reforms. And this, in the age of technology, social media plays a crucial role in any forms of revolution or social change or political upheaval that we face in today's world. So, the age of technology or the age that we're currently in, it cannot be imagined without social media, as for any purpose, let it be economic or political or social, we are heavily dependent on social media. As social media has created a lot of opportunity for us, it also has some drawbacks that we will discuss. So let us start. Um, Social media at first is used to be used as a mode of communication, but nowadays it can be used as a platform to create awareness. Social media has the power or holds the power that we can use it for effective storytelling. For example, if we were to talk about humanitarian crisis, or if we were to talk about political evils or any economic disparity that people might be facing, we always or have a tendency to resort to social media nowadays. As social media, with the use of its pictures and visuals, can create an effective storytelling, we use it for any kind of awareness that we may need to create in a society. For example, if we were to elaborate, we can see the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement was extremely uh, controversial and extremely um, trending around the globe. It was not just based on the South Asian region. It originated from Argentina. If I'm saying it right, it originated from South American country, and then it trended on in the entire globe, and it has empowered women of all class, social background all around the world. For example, in India, the Me Too movement took a very viral form. In 2018, Bollywood actress Datta accused another Bollywood actor, Nana Patekar, of sexual harassment or assault. This created a very waving impact in the film industry, in the journalism sector, and also the corporate sector of the country. It has brought in limelight the harassment or the assaults women face in their day-to-day lives or workplaces. For example, a director and a Bollywood director called Sajid Khan, if I'm saying this right, was also accused of such behaviors, along with journalist MJ Akbar. They were resigned or suspended for their crimes or their wrongdoings. Then it led to the reform of sexual harassment policies in workplaces in India, and it created a safer workplace for women. Uh, the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act of the 2013 was uh, based on this movement. Uh, but it also had a few drawbacks, as the survivors of sexual assault were defamed, they faced social backlash, and they were criticized for telling their stories or coming out as survivors. But it took a lot of attention to the culture that women tend to stay silent when they are faced with sexual harassment or things like that. It also reflected on the issues of gender violence and consent and things like that. If Moving on, we will also see that how social media amplifies the voice of the marginalized. For example, a minority group or a tribe that do not have access to their rights or their access to their rights or political, economic, or social standings, and they're discriminated, this can also be given attention through social media. For example, the Dalit right movements. The Dalit right movement was a caste-based discrimination. They were regarded as untouchables, and they were very socially, politically, and economically disparate from the society. They were not allowed to engage in most of the social activities or political. They were not included in political movements either. For a leading Dalit activist would be Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who advocated for Dalit rights, uh, engaged in education reform and social reform of the Dalit people. He drafted the Indian Constitution, included them for equality, and to include the Dalit people who were discriminated for a long period of time. Uh, the Dalit movement also took place in the 1970s. It was known as the Dalit Panther movement. It was quite long ago. It was inspired from the Black Panther movement in the US. They voiced their uh, they voiced their need for rights and access to the social things and political representation and etc. In the recent cases of Dalit movement include the Rohit Vemula case of 2016 and the Bhima Koregaon case of 2018, how they faced oppressions at universities or workplaces and in their public life. Many legal actions were taken, but the legal actions were very weakened as these Dalit people face a lot of social stigma due to their long line of oppressions and also prejudice against them. But social media has also helped to transform their standing and their status in society a lot, thanks to social media. If we were to move on, we have the Justice for Muskan movement that happened in 2022 in Karnataka region. Uh, Muskan was harassed by few men in her college or university, I assume, for wearing hijab. So this movement was taken to social media and campaigns were done. Even a hashtag called Justice for Movement was trending in social media as she faced a lot of discrimination for wearing hijab. In response to that, hijab was banned from education institution, and it reflected the violated rights of religious freedom, as most people were not allowed to follow or act according to their religious. Uh, this also highlighted the women's right and intolerance against religious, and Muskan was a symbol of resistance, they how she raised her voice against any kinds of violence or harassment and resisted to those things. It also reflected the issues of secularism, religious identity, inclusion, and minority rights in a diverse country like India. Then it sparked a lot of national debate. It took the internet by storm with their people protesting for religious freedom and empowerment of women, and that has led to some social reforms that has is also been possible with the help of social media. Then we have the quota reform movement in Bangladesh. Uh, this happened not more than 2 months ago. As I have witnessed this firsthand and directly, I can say that this movement was only successful due to the presence of social media. The quota reform movement started in 2018, where the government uh, banned, not necessarily banned, the government took out the policies of quota, but again tried to reinstall the quota in 2024. So, for that reason, students across the universities in Dhaka and Bangladesh protested against this quota because almost 30% of the jobs were allocated for the freedom fighter or for the children of freedom fighter. So this created a huge difference in the merit-based jobs. Only 56% of the meritorious students could hold a job in the civil service due to the quota. So this was extremely discriminatory, and it pulled down the meritorious students due to the quota. So violent clashes were seen as a mean of protest against the police and the armed force and students. Uh, Almost 1,000 people died in clashes that continued for an entire month. Curfews were imposed uh, from morning to evening, almost for a week straight. The internet was shut down for 6 days in total. This initiated public anger. The mass people became more and more agitated against the government. Then, after like 20 days or 25 days or so, the uh, government and the judicial system were forced to reform the quota system. So the quota system from 30% were toned down to 7%, where 93% of the jobs were allocated for the meritorious and only 7% were allocated for the quota. Whereas in the past, it was only 56% for the merit and almost 30% plus others for the quota system. Uh, this entire movement was possible because of the social media, as most people were forced inside their house. They were not allowed to leave because of the curfew in military imposed curfew. We were not allowed to leave as army and navy and people of defense personnel were walking in the streets with guns and tanks. So it was not at all safe to leave our homes during that time. And also due to the internet shutdown, we also faced severe economic crisis. Tensions were built up, and we faced almost uh, crores of uh, loss in the economic sector, especially the export sector. This movement was only successful due to the social media, as people living outside Bangladesh, the expatriates took the internet by storm when the internet was shut down and government was killing the mass people and things like that. So social media in a way has changed our life. It has given us a space to talk about the things that are important, about social crisis, social stigma, political tensions, and economic barriers and whatnot. But unfortunately, it also has some drawbacks. Using challenges in using social media for social justice also has a few drawbacks that often fail to acknowledge. For example, misinformation. During the time of any kind of crisis, or for example, the quota movement, a lot of misinformation was spread on the internet, saying that almost 1 million people have died, and people were killed for just going outside their homes. This kind of misinformation created fear among people, and people were scared to even go grocery shopping due to this reason. And another problem was the fake news. Fake news were extremely disturbing at that point. The fake news circulated whereas such that there has been no killing, no students have died, and everything is fine, to show the international media that nothing is going on in Bangladesh. But this was extremely wrong, as almost 1,000 students died. Not 1,000 students, 1,000 people in total. Among them, majority were students. They died, and almost in the Dhaka Medical College, the hospital, almost 400 dead bodies were brought in a single day. So it was very devastating to see those fake news, like nothing happened and things like that, on the internet. And these propaganda and fake news were spread by the authoritarian regime. Another problem is the internet shutdown. As soon as the internet was shut down by the government's regime, we weren't able to communicate to the entire world. We weren't able to communicate with our relatives around the world. We couldn't tell them what we were going through. It was such a devastating time. We could not communicate with anyone. Even the mobile network was not working. So it was hard to communicate with anyone who was not your neighbor. I couldn't talk to my friends. I couldn't talk to my fellow classmates about what was happening. But at the same time, hundreds of people were dying in the streets, but we had no clue because no one could show what was happening. Tanks were in the roads, military personnels were and snipers were in the road killing students, but we couldn't we couldn't know that at first hand because the internet wasn't there, and we got all those news after the internet was restored after 6 days. Another problem with the social media is the censorship. A lot of things are censored on the internet that I think needs to be shown to the general mass, so that they can have a clear understanding of what is going on in their country or in their neighborhood or in their universities or schools. And because due to lack of censorship, people do not get the accurate idea. They are often showed only 15% of the truth, which creates a bias or partiality to what is happening, and it creates misinformation and fake news as a response. Another issue would be the surveillance. Government put huge surveillance on the internet. Anyone who spoke out against the government were searched in their homes, were taken from their homes. Uh, 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 A live example would be a classmate of mine at Dhaka University was taken by the police and he was missing for a month. We couldn't find him anywhere. Our teachers, our guardians roamed in around the police stations for weeks to find his whereabouts, but we were unable to track him down. And after a month, when he got out, we came to know that he was arrested and he was taken by the detective branch of police, where he was interrogated. He wasn't even involved in the protest or anything, but unfortunately, he lived near where the protest was happening. So the government or the police suspected him for doing bad things or crimes. So they took him and he was missing for a month. And when we finally got to know about his whereabouts, he told us things how he was beaten and tortured by the police, and it was a very bad time as a whole nation for us to go through. A lot of students died. A lot of my classmates died. He was found safe after almost a month. Our teachers protested. It was a very rough time, but thanks to social media, thanks to the expatriates living outside Bangladesh, we were able to voice our needs and what was happening to us on the international media and like international platforms like BBC and CNN and Amnesty International because of social media. Otherwise, we couldn't have successfully turned this protest in our favor. Uh, but unfortunately, as advantages as the social media has, it also has a few disadvantages, like you can see on the screen. Moving on, we can see that, yes, uh, social media not only creates a highlight about the situations we're currently facing, it also tells us about everything that is going on around the world, because the social media is the fastest form of communication and information. What is happening could be at your fingertips in 10 to 15 minutes of what it has when it has happened. But when the internet shuts down, it becomes difficult for us to communicate or to know. But social media has played the most crucial role in highlighting human rights issues all over the world. It has advocated, it has shown us human rights abuses all around the world, no matter how far it is from us. It has advocated for human rights. It has contributed to the legal proceedings, and it has uh, helped in giving humanitarian aid. For example, if we were to look at some crisis all over the world, we can see first and foremost the Rohingya refugee crisis. Bangladesh is a hugely densely populated country. So sheltering 1 million Rohingya has been extremely difficult for us. The Rohingya crisis started when the uh, Myanmar military started ethnic cleansing the Rohingya population, and they were forced to flee to the coastal regions of Bangladesh, like Cox's Bazar and Teknaf and areas like that. Uh, the, uh, the Myanmar government or the regime has denied them citizenship. They have no legal rights in their country, and as they are refugee in Bangladesh, they also have no legal rights here. It has caused death over 1,000 people, civilians, and it is a classic case of ethnic cleansing done by authoritarian regime on minority people. Currently, we have almost 1 million Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh, but they are stateless as they nor belong to Bangladesh or Myanmar. They have no legal rights or citizen rights. They cannot vote or have access to any citizen of Bangladesh do. They are heavily dependent on humanitarian aid. Uh, Due to social media, this has been highlighted in the UN and the other international organizations and NGOs. But unfortunately, Rohingyas have been given no guarantee of safety when and if they are returned to Myanmar. The second point I would like to talk about is the farmers' protest in India. This has grabbed my attention for a long time. as this initially started, I think, because of some laws that were uh, not in favor of the farmers, and it has caused them to have no minimum income and caused them to be exploited by the larger corporations that can exploit farmers, according to my knowledge. And this has taken a huge form of movement. Almost 10,000, tens of thousands of farmers have blocked the highways and roads near Delhi for almost a year. I'm sure you know better than I do. They have tried to negotiate with the government. But no positive outcome was coming at first, as they tried to retract those laws altogether instead of going through any negotiations. But the farmers' protest became violent on a Republic Day in 2021, as far as I know. Then the laws were ultimately repealed in November to 2021. And I think this has only become possible that farmers have uh, gained their rights because solely due to social media. As I am a citizen of Bangladesh, I have no access or proper access to what is happening in India or the local news sources. So I only got to know about the farmers' protest through social media. So when I started learning about the farmers' protest, I learned in depth and detail what happened and how it affected the farmers and who were exploited and who caused the initial protest. I think social media played a crucial role to give them the minimum price of their crops, and it showed solidarity among farmers all over India. Then, if we were to talk about the most currently most horrible social right abuse that is happening, that is the Palestine genocide. The Palestine genocide, it has been going on for more than 75 years. A lot of people think it started in October 7th, 2023, but as we did not have social media in the earlier 20th century or in the 1940s, we did not know. And this incident was not a global issue in the 50s or 60s or 50 years ago because we did not have social media. Now we can know about what is happening in Palestine and the genocide that is uh, been done by the Israeli military against the Palestinian people due to social media. I only got to know about it since the beginning of 2023 about what is happening in Palestine. I have read articles and textbooks on the genocide caused by this. I think most people did not really know or care about the Palestine genocide before 2023. This has only been possible due to the access of social media. Because in the past, when we did not have, we only heard about it or listened in some newspaper and did not pay much attention to it. But now that we see the videos and the pictures of dismembered civilians and children, elderly people dying in uh, bombs and airstrikes, we can honestly understand, have a better understanding of what is happening. So social media has been crucial when it comes to the human right issue. The other, not much talked about, but I think it should gain similar attention as the Palestine genocide, is the Sudan famine. The Sudan famine was caused by an initial civil war. Uh, it was initially caused by a civil war and a drought. The drought drastically changed the economic and the agricultural situation in Sudan. It Since then it has caused over 1 million deaths of civilians in Sudan, and they are currently living on humanitarian aid from international organizations and NGOs. This famine is, I think, is partially caused by government neglect, as they forced to failed to uh, face the solution for the famine. In recent months, there has been in a few months. This is the statistics of recent months. Almost 12,000 deaths have been reported, and the conflict of the civil war, that is between the armed force of the two major parties of the country, and how it has displaced almost 8 million people, is a very concerning matter for the entire world. And I think ever we couldn't have paid much attention or knew about this without the help of social media. So I think social media has not only given us a mean of communication, it has also encouraged us to uh, actively participate in social justice and whatnot, and has also encouraged us to uh, stop in some ways of human abuse, human rights abuse, and bring attention to these people who are unable to talk for themselves. Now, if we move on, we can see how social media for is used for community empowerment. This I can give you at hand examples when I talk about the online business or the online pages that I currently see in Bangladesh. Almost everything in this world, in Bangladesh, can be found and sourced from the social media. For example, if I were to buy a grocery, I can do it from social media. If I were to buy clothes, or even anything that I use for my daily need, I can buy everything from social media or the internet, and uh, pages of artisans who currently use the social media to promote their goods. This is extremely well for the small businesses and local initiatives, as the local artisans of our country are very much exploited by the larger corporations. So, through social media, they can make a small business for themselves. They can depend on their own income for the uh, a livelihood through social media. For example, many Facebook and Instagram pages these days now sell everything that you can possibly think of and possibly need in your daily life, and most of them are led by women. So not only this has empowered the artisans, this has also empowered the women of our country, as they are engaged in clothing business, food business, and even arts and crafts. They make things using their own talents, and things that you can use to decorate your house or yourselves, and jewelries and things like that. And this has heavily empowered the women in my country. And I can say this as many of my friends are engaged in this small business. They have their pages of their own. They can showcase and broadcast their talents during these. Um, they are able to sell their handicrafts. And I also forgot to mention makeup. As you know, women engaged in makeup and things like that, they can showcase their talent, they can showcase their makeup skills, then they can open pages, they can ask or take appointments of other people's. They can uh, they can adore for their bridal programs, or and any other events. So this has been a very important progress for the women. This is not only helping in our GDP, but also for the local people. And uh, uh, in total, it has exceptionally increased our economic situation of the country. If moving on, we can see, yes, this is very extremely important, that social media is well used by those who have the most followers or the most influence in social media. Uh, Many celebrities and influencers all over the world are using social media as a platform to encourage social uh, promoting social justice and empowerment of women, education. and social inclusion and whatnot. If we were to take a few examples, I would like to start with Priyanka Chopra Jonas. She is Indian actress and extremely beautiful. She was also Miss World, and she has talked about issues like women's rights, child welfare, and education. And she supports campaigns by international NGOs and UN and other organizations that can tackle problems like child marriage and give access to education among the marginalized community. I think she has done a splendid job. I really look up to her. She is extremely gracious, and I'm a big fan, of course. I love watching her movies. Then we can see Malala Yousafzai. She is a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, and she advocated in girls' right and women's right in places that suppress women and where they deny women of basic needs like education and things like that. She has brought forward the crisis that women face in certain regions of the world, how they have barrier to education, and many other things that are quite taken for granted all over the world. So, especially in the South Asian region or the Middle Eastern region, she has spoken up about this a lot, and she is extremely inspiring as well. Greta Thunberg, another one of my favorites, she is an environmental or climate activist. I love the work she does for the environmental justice. She draws the attention to the crisis that is happening to planet Earth and what problems and what devastations we might face due to this. And I think she is doing a very good job that most of us fail to do. She is creating awareness and consciousness among people. For example, she also has initiated movements like Fridays for Future that talks about how if we don't reduce the carbon emission or the use of fossil fuels, we will not have a planet to live in future as our planet is going through heavy environmental crisis. The ice caps are melting, global warming, the sea levels are rising, lands are going submerging underwater. It's been a huge crisis and a huge devastation. If we were not to take this uh, threats seriously, this environmental threats seriously, we will face such problems. Another prominent celebrity is Rihanna. She's a singer. She has spoken up about the BLM movement or the Black Lives Matter movement, and she has also spoken up about the farmers' protest in India. This has drawn a lot of attention from the Western world to the Indian farmer movement, as we needed, or the Indian farmers needed such an international attention to voice their rights or to voice their problems. So I think celebrities and influencers who use social media to bring attention to the crisis of the world and to human right abuse and other things are absolute inspiring people, and I look up to them very much. They are doing a far better job as one person when a collective people of people cannot do, as they have a huge number of followers and following. Uh, this has been the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I would love to answer.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot for this, like so much engaging PPT. Like we got lots of information regarding your experience plus the topic. I have a question to ask.
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, ma'am. Like I'm Rohit from and I'm the host. So I want to ask that as we know that social media is a like ocean of information, right? So
Yes.
how do we means how do we encounter, ma'am, this misinformation or the genuine information? Like many of the times it happens like during crisis or during various wars or lots of misinformations are spread and many people react to those misinformations and the reactions are like very cruel type. So how do we
Yes.
figure out this
Uh,
misinformation?
well, spreading misinformation, the first step to see if it's misinformation is to check sources. During the quota reform movement, a lot of misinformation was spread in similar manner, and this has taken violent form as students were became more violent. So did the police, and so did the government, because of misinformation, as information was not correctly spread. And I think there are some people on the internet who deliberately spreads misinformation to add fire to the fuel. They
Yes,
will
yes,
spread
ma'am.
misinformation to trigger certain people, or to trigger certain communities. I think the most efficient way to check if a piece of news is misinformation or not is to check the sources. Whenever I hear of such newses on the social media or any other news platform, I often check for the source. And if I do not find any source, I always ask for the source. For example, if someone in my friend list shared some news that I did not hear of or I'm not familiar with, I will always ask for the source. And if he or she can show me the source of how it happened, if it's a reliable newspaper or a TV channel, then and only then I shall and I will believe the news. Until then, I don't believe any news on the internet without efficient or variable sources.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, one more question I have. Like, as you said that you experienced the quota movement of Bangladesh. So, did you face any kind of misinformation that was spread through social media? Like,
I'm
did you
sorry, I did not
notice?
get your question.
Like, as you said, you witnessed the quota movement of Bangladesh, right? So the
Yes,
situations were like very critical that time. So, were
yes,
there any kind of misinformation that you encountered during the your
yes.
experience there?
Many misinformation that I encountered was especially in hospitals. And my university, Dhaka University, is where it all started. In my university, the VC, the ex-VC, he resigned after the protest. The ex-VC was claiming and saying things like everything is under control, nothing is going wrong. Especially in my university hall, the residential halls, a lot of students were beaten. A lot of my classmates and fellow students were beaten and heavily injured by the by the goons of the political party, and they were claiming on social media that nothing is going wrong, everything is fine, the situation of halls are under control, there is no signs of any violence. But I knew firsthand, because I was seeing pictures and hearing testimonies of my classmates, that something in the halls were extremely wrong. They were locked in their rooms, they were beaten, they were it was a very violent what happened to them. I do not want to trigger anyone, but it was extremely disturbing to talk about what happened to them as they faced physical and mental abuse during that time. This kind of misinformation was spread by the authority of the university and the VC, that everything is under control, nothing wrong is going on, especially also the police. The police were claiming that they weren't uh, hitting anyone, they weren't abusing students or civilians on the road. But when we saw the first-hand videos of my friends and other people on the internet, from reliable sources, I understood that they were spreading misinformation for their own benefit.
Okay, ma'am. Thanks a lot, ma'am, for answering the questions. And I request everyone, whoever has any question to ask to Ma'am Liana, please, you can ask verbally too, or you can drop your questions on the chat box, and ma'am can look into the questions and answer accordingly. I request
Okay.
everyone, if you have any questions.
Nama, I also have one question.
Yes.
So, in what ways can social media platforms help marginalized communities amplify their voices and stories?
I am sorry. Can you repeat? I'm extremely sorry.
It's okay. In what ways can social media platforms help marginalized communities amplify their voices and stories?
Okay. I think how the marginalized people usually amplify their voices. As you know, Bangladesh has a hill district region in the south. That consists of many tribal communities and small ethnic groups, and they were also facing a lot of abuse and discrimination from the authoritarian government, along with the uh, some military personnel who were stationed there. So they could only, as they were very small in number, they could only voice their crisis when they use the social media. As in my university, we have students from the ethnic minority background and other places. We would only hear about the crisis the ethnic people faced when we talked to them personally. And they were at very much afraid of sharing what was happening to them in the hill regions, as they feared that the military personnel would harm them, kill them, and things like that. So when we talk to them, they as they are small in number, they are very fearful of the military. So, but when we talk to them, we can also help them in marginalizing the voice. For example, the our classmates or many friends that I know of are actively supporting the minority people in the hill tracks because of the abuses they face. So when we talk about marginalized people and amplifying their voice, we are not just only talking about them and them speaking out. We, as a supporter of them, we can join their hands and stand by them and also amplify our voices for their causes too. In that way, they will have more courage and they will be less fearful of what the military personnel or any other people might do to them because of this. So I think not only the marginalized people, I think we should also come forward when things like this happen and the marginalized or the minority people are at risk of some sort. That way we can amplify their crisis as well.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for answering.
Thank you for your question.
Ma'am, I have dropped my question in chat box. Kindly see
Okay.
that.
Wait, let me see. Uh, Okay, so your question is, how can social media activism be sustained beyond trending hashtags to create a long-term impact? Yes. The initial stage of any movement or activism starts as a hashtag or a social media trend, but I think it is extremely important because most of the time the vast people of the world or the majority people of a country are unaware of what is happening. For example, the crisis that is going on in the south region, or the Rohingya crisis in Bangladesh, and even the quota reform movement was unaccessible to other parts of the country. What was happening in Dhaka was not known in the other districts of Bangladesh, as it was very small and it only happened in my university region. It only got so big and it only became a monumental protest due to social media, as when the students of Dhaka University first started creating those hashtags and those social media platforms they created to spread the news. And I think whenever any protest or movement it starts very small and it only gets so big over time. So when the protest first started, it was just, I think, 20 to 30 students who sat at the university. We have a place called we have a huge monument at university. So they were sitting under, only 20 to 30 people were sitting under that monument and speaking about their rights. So it was very small. It started very small. Even I did not know when I was going to classes. It became so big after they took to the social media. The hashtags were created and it became evident in every part of Bangladesh that something is heavily wrong. The government is doing something wrong to the students. We are being discriminated and abuses are happening all to all students across the world. And then people of all walks of Bangladesh integrated themselves in the movement, and that's how I think it's like a small domino. When you topple one thing and suddenly a huge domino topples at the end, it's like that. So I think we have to start small, and when we start small, it takes time to become big and create a long-term impact. We always have to start small.
Thank you for answering.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, ma'am. I think we have come to the end of this question round. And so, as we are near the closing ceremony, before we depart, we would like to thank Ms. Liana, Dinesh Agarwal sir, Ma'am Simran Sharma, Pradipta Mukherjee sir, and the responsible members for making this webinar a great success. ADOR is a global network of students and young professionals like ourselves, all passionate about inspiring you to make a positive impact. We connect you with established professionals and offer a platform to learn from their journeys. So if anyone is interested, can visit our website. We have shared a link in the chat box. We request you to give your valuable feedback. Once again, thank you everyone for joining. The webinar is now complete. You may now leave the meeting. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Ma'am Liana.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.